Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the Kordial Media YouTube channel. My name is Adriana and I help bloggers, influencers, and e-commerce businesses drive traffic and sales utilizing Pinterest with my Pinterest marketing agency, Kordial Media. In today's video, we are giving you the tips and tricks on how to optimize your Pinterest ads. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit the big red subscribe button and to hit the bell to be notified every single time I post a new video here on the Kordial Media YouTube channel. Without further ado, let me break down first and foremost the different metrics that we are going to look at. So the first thing is the checkout return on ad spend. This means that you are looking at the direct return that you're getting for the amount you're spending on your ads. So we're talking about direct sales from your Pinterest campaigns. The next metric you're going to look at is the total order value for the checkouts. So you get your return on ad spend. It tells you how many times you've doubled, tripled, or quadrupled your money, or more or less. But the total order value is how much you've actually made from your Pinterest ads. It's the exact amount that you've made from running promoted pins. I like to look at add to cart return on ad spend as well, just to get an idea of how we're doing in terms of adding to cart and sales. Normally, when your add to cart is really high, that's a really good indication that people are interested in your product. And so the checkouts usually come as a result of that. So that is why I like to monitor the add to cart return on ad spend too. The next thing I like to monitor is the sign up return on ad spend or the lead return on ad spend if the point of my promoted pins is to get an email. The next metric that's really important to look at is the click-through rate, because this gives you an idea as to whether or not your creatives is resonating with your audience. Of course, you also want to monitor outbound clicks, because this is the amount of people who actually landed on your landing page from your campaign. Next, you want to look at the cost per 1,000 impression. So that is the CPM, because this is how you are built when you are running conversion campaigns on Pinterest. I also like to look at the cost per acquisition, so CPA, because this metric indicates how much you are paying to actually acquire a certain conversion. So you can look at the CPA for checkouts, for add to carts, for leads, and for signups. Next, I like to monitor the cost per click, the CPC, because again, this is actually how you are billed when you are running consideration campaigns, formerly known as traffic campaigns on Pinterest. And so monitoring your CPC is really important too. In case you're finding all of this information overwhelming already, don't worry, you can actually download my complete Pinterest ads cheat sheet code in the description box below. It outlines all of the metrics I just discussed, and it's going to outline what to do in every scenario to optimize your campaigns. Now that you know all of the metrics that we're going to discuss, let's talk about how to optimize your ads based on certain scenarios. Okay, so let's say the first thing that you're going to look at is your click-through rate. And this should be the first thing you look at, because usually Pinterest, when you launch an ad, whether it be a traffic campaign or a consideration or a catalog sales campaign, a shopping campaign, the first indication of the success of your campaign starts with the outbound clicks, the click-through rate, and whether or not your creative is resonating with your Pinterest audience and the audience that the campaign is finding for you. So for example, if your click-through rate is below 0.55%, then that means that your creative, your pins, your designs that you chose for your campaigns that are being served to your Pinterest audience are not interesting to your audience. So you have to break down exactly what it is about your creatives that isn't resonating with your audience. Is it the text? Is it the fact that there's not a call to action on the graphic? Is it the fact that it's the wrong dimensions? Maybe you are mixing video creatives with standard pin creatives. Usually the budget will go towards the video creatives, and therefore the standard pins in that case won't get served if they're all in the same ad group. So that's something else you can look at. So really at the end of the day, if your click-through rate is below 55%, it means you need to switch up your creative, or you need to separate your standard creative, your standard pin creatives and your video pin creatives in two separate ad groups. Now, if you need pin templates that you can customize on Canva, my graphic designer has created 3 free ones for you that you can also download in the description box below. Great. Now let's say your click-through rate is above 0.55%, you're doing really well. If your click-through rate is like above 1%, your creatives are doing amazing, okay? But let's say your creative is above 55% minimum, and your add to cart return on ad spend or your lead or sign up ROAS is below 1, That means that your landing page needs work, because if people are clicking your pin to get on the landing page, but they're not adding to cart or they're not signing up to your opt-in, your landing page is not resonating with your audience the same way that your pin graphic was. So this is again where you have to kind of be critical here and analyze your landing page and see really what it is that people are doing to drop off. You can download a heat map to check out where people are dropping off on your page. You can ask a friend or somebody in the industry to take a look at your landing page to see whether or not you can improve it. And lastly, you can also hire a copywriter to give you better sales copy for your landing page too. So those are all three options that you can take in order to improve your landing page and therefore start seeing those add to carts or those signups and leads come in. So the next scenario is when, okay, your click-through rate is above 55%, you're getting a good amount of add to cart ROAS or leads or sign up ROAS. So it's above 1, you've at least broken even, you're up to like 2 or 3. However, your checkout ROAS is below 1. What you can do is add a consideration campaign to your funnel. The reason why your checkout ROAS is probably a bit lower, but your add to cart ROAS is coming in a bit higher is because you're missing traffic. So you gotta get more and more traffic to your page to increase those add to carts in order to increase the checkouts as a result. To give you an idea, usually what I've been seeing lately is that an add to cart ROAS around 10 is usually going to help you get a checkout ROAS around 2 or 3 or 4. So you really want to aim for a super high add to cart return on ad spend in order to get a decent checkout return on ad spend. Another thing you can do in this scenario is actually switch from the checkout conversion event to add to cart conversion event, because again, if your ad is trying to optimize for checkouts but your Pinterest tag is not warmed up for checkouts, then Pinterest is going to have a really hard time getting you those checkouts. However, normally your Pinterest tag is warmed up enough for an add to cart, and so it'll have a much easier time finding those add to carts for you on Pinterest. And if you're getting that add to cart volume, then eventually, like I said, you will get the checkout volume too. But that's just one thing you can do in your optimizations. Now, the next scenario is your stats are doing really well. So that means your click-through rate is about 55%. Your add to cart ROAS or your leader sign up ROAS is also above a 2, and your checkout is above a 1, and it's growing steadily week over week. That means you don't want to touch your campaign. Just let it run, let it grow to a level that you're comfortable with, let it slowly start to, find its audience more and more. And then let's say, for example, it starts to stagnate at a certain checkout level and you're starting to actually see it drop a little bit. That's when you can start adding creative back in to switch things up and give your Pinterest audience a new pin to bounce off of and to click from in order to then increase those checkouts back up. Clients, like right now I have a client we're running campaigns for, and they're getting like a 4 or 5 ROAS, checkout ROAS. So that's a really good volume. But let's say, next week I were to see the ROAS drop to 3, a checkout ROAS drop to 3, that means that probably the creative that I've used has exhausted. And so I would just switch the creative and add a new creative, and it will probably help the campaign get back up to that 4 or 5. So again, just because your ROAS is good doesn't mean that you can't make it better. It doesn't mean that, if it drops one week, it's not going to come back the next. You just have to be really critical in the way that you optimize your campaigns, and you have to think strategically as to what you can do in order to help the campaign and not completely mess up the campaign and the results that you're getting. Now, the next scenario that I want to talk about is when your campaign is simply not spending its full budget day to day. So usually you have to pick a daily budget. For example, I had a client where his budget was $100 for that one campaign a day, and it was only spending about half that amount. The reason why it was not spending its full amount was because its audience, the audience that we chose for the campaign was too small. So you need to find a way to increase the audience. So let's say you're running a cold campaign and it's not spending its daily budget, then you want to add more interest and more keywords in there to increase the potential audience size. If you have an already existing audience that you're running, for example, you've been running a campaign to your site visitors in the last 60 days, you can bump that to your audience, to your site visitors in the last 180 days instead. So Pinterest can have a bigger audience to go after and therefore will spend its full daily budget for you and hopefully get the best possible results for your ad spend as well. So we didn't really talk about the nitty-gritty optimizations that you can make, like in terms of keywords and things like that, but let's talk about that now. So let's say, for example, you've optimized your landing page, your creatives are doing really, really well, and you're getting a good amount of checkouts and a good amount of add to carts, but you've never optimized your interests or keywords. That's something that you can do. So you can look at the interests that are spending the most, the interests that are getting you the most add to carts and the most checkouts or the highest click-through rates, and you can keep those and just archive the others that aren't getting you those results that you want. Alternatively, you can archive some, wait a week, and then add in new interest to test as well. Sometimes that does help ads perform better over time. When it comes to keywords, what you can do is the same idea actually, is look at all the keywords that you've added and archive any of the ones that either have a bad click-through rate or a bad add to cart ratio or no checkouts at all in the last 30 days. So those are some minor optimizations that you can make that can help improve the performance of your campaign too. I would just caution you about doing this too often, because once you've removed most of the interest, for example, or once you've removed a good amount of keywords, then the campaign has trouble finding its audience again. So either you want to archive some and let it run, but still have a good amount of interest and keywords in there, or you want to archive a majority of them and replace them with new ones to test. Of course, a few other minor optimizations that you can make would be to enable targeting, and you can archive ages, genders, devices that are also not getting you the results that you want and that are not hitting the key performance indicators that you're after. The only thing I really wouldn't mess with too much would be the location. As long as you are advertising in the country of choice, I don't think it's necessary to remove certain metros or regions within your campaign, unless you can only sell to specific regions in the world. In the free Pinterest ads cheat sheet that I mentioned, there is one more extra bonus optimization that you can check out in there as well that I'm not going to mention in today's video. This optimization is when everything is going super well and you are wondering how to level it up even better. So you can download that cheat sheet below and you'll get the answer to what you can do when things are going super, super well. If you're confused as to what to do with your Pinterest ads and this video was a bit too much information for you and you'd really just like to delegate promoted pins to an expert, feel free to book a meeting with me in the description box below. We can chat about your Pinterest ads and your Pinterest account in general and see whether or not you and I are a good fit to work together. On that note, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.